Victoria Ashford slammed her palm against the window of the rusted Honda so hard the glass cracked. "My daughter is dying," she screamed into the face of the black man behind the wheel. "She's 8 years old, and her heart is going to stop in 15 minutes. Please." Marcus. Thompson stared at this woman, designer coat, diamond earrings, mascara bleeding down her cheeks, and his foot stayed on the brake. 30 seconds ago she'd told him she didn't need his help. Now she was begging. He should drive away. He had his own son waiting at home, his own problems, his own life that had nothing to do with rich white women stranded on highways. But he knew that look in her eyes. He'd worn it himself 3 years ago watching his wife die. Marcus unlocked the door. "Comment your city below so I can see how far this story travels." The crack in his window would cost him $200 he didn't have. Marcus watched the woman circle around to the passenger side, her heels slipping on black ice, her whole body shaking. She yanked the door open and threw herself inside, bringing the smell of expensive perfume and raw fear. "Drive. Lakeshore Drive. Gold Coast." She was already fumbling with her dead phone, slamming it against her thigh like she could beat it back to life. God damn it. God damn it. Marcus pulled onto the highway. "How far?" "20 minutes in normal traffic." "We don't have 20 minutes. "Then we'll make it in 10. He floored the accelerator. The Honda's engine screamed in protest, 16 years old, with 200,000 miles held together by duct tape and prayers. The tires fought for grip on the frozen asphalt. What's wrong with her heart? Long QT syndrome, electrical disorder. She needs medication every 6 hours, or her rhythm destabilizes. Victoria's words came fast, clinical, a doctor reciting a diagnosis to keep from screaming. The nanny was supposed to be there. She's stuck on the north side. Traffic, the storm. Lily's alone. She know how to call 911. She's 8. My boy's 9. He knows. Victoria turned to look at him for the first time. Really look. Taking in his worn Carhartt jacket, his calloused hands on the steering wheel, the faded photo of a woman taped to his dashboard. "Who are you?" "Marcus Thompson, electrician. Does it matter right now?" "No." She turned back to the windshield. "No, it doesn't." They drove in silence for 30 seconds. The wipers slapped against ice. The heater wheezed like a dying man. "Why'd you stop?" Victoria asked suddenly. "What?" "On the highway. I told you I didn't need help. Most people would have kept driving. Why'd you stop?" Marcus thought about the question. Thought about his aching back and his empty refrigerator, and the $160,000 in medical debt that woke him up at 3 a.m. every night. "Because you looked like my wife did, right before she died." Victoria didn't respond, but she stopped fidgeting with her phone. The Gold Coast rose around them like a different planet. Marcus had worked in these neighborhoods before, rewiring penthouses, installing custom lighting for people who spent more on a chandelier than he made in a year. He knew the doormen who looked through him like glass. He knew the security guards who followed him through lobbies. He knew exactly how much his presence was tolerated and how quickly it could be revoked. Next left, the building with the columns. He pulled up to a tower that probably had its own zip code. A doorman materialized under a heated awning, eyeing the Honda like it might be carrying a bomb. Victoria was out before Marcus stopped, running, her heels clicking against marble. Marcus killed the engine and followed. "Sir?" The doorman stepped in front of him, young, white, jaw tight. "Can I help you?" "I'm with her." "I don't think so. Her daughter's having a medical emergency. I'm sure Dr. Ashford can get out of my way." Something in Marcus's voice, 3 years of grief and 16 hours of exhaustion compressed into 5 words, made the doorman step aside. Marcus caught up with Victoria at the elevator. Her fingers stabbed the penthouse button over and over, like it would make the car move faster. "Come on. Come on. Come on." The doors opened. They stepped inside. The elevator rose with the silent efficiency of money. "She's smart," Victoria said to no one. "She knows what to do if there's an emergency. She knows all the numbers. She's so smart." She'll be okay. You don't know that. No, I don't. The doors opened onto a private foyer. One door. Victoria's hands shook so badly she dropped her keys twice. Marcus picked them up and unlocked the door himself. Lily. Victoria burst inside. Lily! Mommy's home! Lily! Silence. Marcus followed her through the apartment. He didn't notice the artwork, or the furniture, or the view. He noticed the silence, the kind of silence that lived in hospital rooms and funeral homes. Victoria ran from room to room. Kitchen, living room, study. Her voice getting higher, more desperate. Marcus stopped moving. He listened. There, faint, coming from the left, crying. This way. He moved toward the sound. Victoria followed. Down a hallway, past closed doors, to a room with pink walls and stars on the ceiling. A little girl sat in the corner, blonde hair, blue eyes, knees pulled to her chest, one hand pressed against her heart. Mommy. Her voice was thin as paper. My heart's going too fast. I can't make it stop. Victoria dropped to her knees. Her hands moved with surgical precision, checking, pulse, assessing color, reaching for the medical bag she'd carried from the car. I'm here, baby. Mommy's here. I'm going to give you your medicine now. It hurts. I know it hurts. Just breathe for me. Can you do that? Just breathe. Marcus stayed in the doorway, watching a mother fight for her daughter's life, remembering another hospital room, another woman he couldn't save. Who's that? Lily's eyes found him over her mother's shoulder. That's Mr. Thompson. He helped Mommy get home. Is he a doctor? No, baby. Victoria paused. He's a friend. Marcus watched her prepare the injection. Watched Lily wince when the needle went in. Watched Victoria attach a monitor to her daughter's finger and stare at the numbers like they held the secrets of the universe. Heart rate dropping, 140, 130, 120. Lily's breathing slowed. Her color improved. The crisis passed with the same speed it had arrived. Victoria sat back on her heels. Her shoulders shook once, twice. She pressed her hand over her mouth to keep from sobbing. Marcus turned away, giving her the privacy to fall apart. The lights went out 12 minutes later. One moment the penthouse glowed with warm light. The next total darkness. Lily screamed. No, 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 no. Victoria fumbled for her medical bag. The nebulizer needs power. If she has another episode, the backup medications need refrigeration. Does the building have a generator? It's supposed to. The maintenance company, they were supposed to service it. Her voice cracked. The composed doctor, the wealthy woman who'd told him she didn't need his help, was unraveling in the dark. Marcus turned on his phone's flashlight. Pack whatever she needs, whatever she can't be without. What? My apartment's on a different grid. Southside still got power. Pack her medications. We're leaving. Victoria stared at him. The flashlight carved shadows across her face. You're inviting us to your home. I'm offering your daughter a working outlet. You want to stand here debating, or you want to keep her alive? 5 minutes later, they were back in the Honda. Lily sat in the back seat wrapped in a blanket that cost more than Marcus's monthly rent. Victoria sat beside him with a medical bag on her lap, looking like she'd crash-landed on Mars. This car smells like grease, Lily said. Lily. Victoria turned around. That's rude. It's fine. Marcus caught Lily's eyes in the rearview mirror. My son says it smells like hard work. He's right about most things. You have a son? Isaiah. He's 9. Does he like space? More than anything in the world. Lily smiled. It was small, but it was real. Marcus drove south. The neighborhoods transformed around them. Glass towers became brick two-flats. Boutiques became bodegas. The streets got darker, emptier, more familiar. Where are we? Victoria asked quietly. Home. He pulled into the lot of a 3-story building that had seen better decades. Paint peeling, lights flickering. 2 guys smoking on the front steps who nodded at Marcus and stared at Victoria. Is it safe? Marcus turned off the engine, looked at her. Lady, I've lived here for 15 years, raised my son here, buried my wife from here. It's safe. He got out before she could respond. Isaiah was waiting at the door. Dad. He crashed into Marcus's legs. Mrs. Patterson said there were accidents and I was worried and... He stopped, staring at the woman in the expensive coat and the little girl wrapped in cashmere. We have guests, Marcus said. This is Dr. Ashford and her daughter Lily. Their power's out and Lily needs medical equipment. They're staying until the storm passes. Isaiah processed this. His eyes moved from Victoria to Lily to his father. Does she want to see my telescope? Marcus felt something crack in his chest. This boy, this impossibly good boy. Maybe after she rests. She's been through a lot tonight. Mrs. Patterson emerged from the kitchen, 73 years old with eyes that had seen everything twice. Lord have mercy, she said. That child looks half frozen. Get her by the heater. I'll make tea. Victoria stood in the doorway of the small apartment, taking in the worn furniture, the water stain on the ceiling, the stack of bills on the kitchen counter, taking in the photos on every wall. A beautiful black woman with Isaiah's eyes, smiling, laughing, alive. Your wife, Victoria asked quietly. Denise. Marcus's voice caught on the name. 3 years now. I'm sorry. Me too. Lily tugged on her mother's coat. Mommy, can I sit down? My legs are tired. The next hour passed in strange domesticity. Victoria set up monitoring equipment on the kitchen table while Mrs. Patterson made tea and Isaiah showed Lily his collection of astronomy books. Marcus watched from the doorway feeling like a stranger in his own home. Her vitals are stable, Victoria announced. She should be fine through the night. Good. Mrs. Patterson handed her a cup of tea. Now you sit down before you fall down. You've been running on fear for 2 hours. Body can only take so much. Victoria accepted the tea, sat down at the kitchen table, looked around the small apartment with an expression Marcus couldn't read. This is very different from what I'm used to. I imagine so. That's not... I didn't mean... She stopped, started over. It feels warm. You're home. It feels lived in. Marcus sat across from her. That's because people live in it. My apartment has 12 rooms. Lily and I use 3 of them. Victoria wrapped her hands around the teacup. Sometimes I forget other people are in the building. It's that quiet. Sounds lonely. It is. The admission surprised them both. From the living room, the sound of children's voices drifted in. Isaiah explaining the Andromeda Galaxy, Lily asking if humans would ever live on Mars. She doesn't laugh like that at home, Victoria said quietly. Neither does he. They sat in silence. 2 single parents, 2 broken families, 1 storm that had thrown them together. Why did you really stop tonight? Victoria asked. On the highway. You said I looked like your wife. What did that mean? Marcus stared at the photo of Denise on the refrigerator. Her smile. Her eyes. The way she used to look at him like he could fix anything. She had lupus. Diagnosed 5 years ago. The insurance company fought us on every treatment, every medication, every hospital stay. His voice was flat, practiced. The story told too many times. I watched her get sicker while executives in offices decided what she was worth. When she died, they sent me a bill for $160,000. Victoria didn't speak. You asked why I stopped. I stopped because I know what it looks like when someone's watching the person they love slip away, and there's nothing they can do. He met her eyes. I couldn't save Denise. Maybe I could help you save Lily. Marcus, don't. He held up his hand. Don't thank me. Don't apologize. Don't offer to pay me. Just take care of your daughter. The clock on the wall ticked. The radiator hissed. In the living room, Isaiah laughed at something Lily said. Her father left when she was 2, Victoria said suddenly. Not dead, not sick. He just decided he didn't want to be a father anymore. Packed a bag and walked out while she was sleeping. I'm sorry. I'm not. He was a coward. Lily deserves better than a coward for a father. Victoria's jaw tightened. But she doesn't understand that. She just knows that her daddy left and he never came back. She thinks it's her fault. Kids always think it's their fault. How does Isaiah blame himself for his mother? Marcus was quiet for a long moment. He asked me once if he'd been a better son, would God have let her stay? What did you tell him? I told him God doesn't bargain, and that his mama loved him more than breathing, and that sometimes people leave and it's nobody's fault except the universe being cruel. Did he believe you? I don't know. I'm still not sure I believe it myself. Victoria set down her teacup. Her hands had stopped shaking. Her makeup had dried in streaks on her face. She looked exhausted and raw and more human than she had all night. I'm a cardiologist, she said. I fix hearts for a living. I've done surgeries that made the news. I've saved children who were given hours to live. She laughed bitterly. And I can't fix my own daughter. I can't even keep her safe during a power outage. You got her here. She's safe now. That's what matters. Because of you. Because a stranger on a highway stopped when he didn't have to. I had to. No, you didn't. That's my point. Victoria leaned forward. People like me, we don't stop. We call our assistants. We hire services. We pay people to solve our problems. We never get our hands dirty. And people like me, you stop. Even when you're exhausted. Even when you've got your own problems. You stop because someone needs help. Victoria's voice was barely a whisper. I wouldn't have stopped. If our situations were reversed, I would have called 911 and kept driving. The confession hung in the air between them. Honest, ugly, true. Maybe, Marcus said, or maybe you would have surprised yourself. Before Victoria could respond, Lily appeared in the doorway. Isaiah hovered behind her. Mommy, Isaiah says there's a star that exploded 1,000,000 years ago, but we can still see its light. Is that true? Victoria's face transformed. The exhaustion lifted. The walls came down. For a moment, she was just a mother looking at her daughter. It's true, baby. Light travels so far that sometimes we see stars that don't exist anymore. That's sad. Or beautiful. Depends on how you look at it. Isaiah stepped forward. My dad says my mom is like that. Gone but still here. Because I remember her. The room went silent. Lily looked at Isaiah with huge blue eyes. Your mom died? Yeah, 3 years ago. I'm sorry. It's okay. She was really sick. She's not sick anymore. Victoria's eyes met Marcus's across the room. Something passed between them. Recognition, understanding, the shared language of grief that no one chooses to learn. Can we look at the telescope now? Lily asked. Isaiah says Mars is really bright tonight. It's almost midnight, baby. Please, I promise I'll go right to sleep after. Please. Victoria looked at Marcus. He shrugged. 10 minutes, she said. Then bed. The children disappeared down the hall. Their voices faded into excited whispers about planets and galaxies and things bigger than Chicago apartments and Gold Coast penthouses and all the walls that separated their worlds. You should get some rest too, Marcus said. Take my bed. Isaiah and I will sleep out here. I can't take your... You can, and you will. Because tomorrow's going to be complicated and you need to be sharp for your daughter. Victoria stood, hesitated, looked around the small kitchen one more time. Tomorrow, after the storm clears, I'd like to... Can we talk about everything? Sure? She nodded, turned to leave, stopped. Marcus, What's your wife's name? The one in the photos. Denise. She's beautiful. She was. Victoria walked down the hall toward the children's voices. Marcus stayed at the kitchen table staring at the bills he couldn't pay and the photos of the woman he couldn't save. His phone buzzed. Work. Riverside Medical needed him at 6 a.m. Emergency rate. He should take it. The money was good. Isaiah needed new shoes. The rent was due in a week. But for the first time in 3 years, Marcus typed something different. Can't tomorrow. Family emergency. He hit send before he could change his mind. Mrs. Patterson appeared in the doorway, coat on, ready to leave. That woman, she said quietly. She's got something on her shoulders besides that expensive coat. We all do. True enough. Mrs. Patterson patted his arm. But yours is showing. So's hers. Might be you can help each other carry it. We just met Mrs. P. Some people meet their whole lives and stay strangers. Some people meet one night in a storm and see each other clear as glass. She opened the front door. Don't stay up too late. You've got a houseful now. After she left, Marcus walked to his son's room. The door was cracked open. Inside, Isaiah and Lily stood at the telescope, taking turns looking at Mars. Victoria stood behind them, watching. Her arms wrapped around herself like she was holding something together. She caught Marcus's eye, smiled. Small, tired, real. It's beautiful, she mouthed. He nodded. It was. And tomorrow everything would get complicated. He'd learn things about Victoria Ashford and her family that would change everything. She'd offer him a job that would test every principle he'd ever held. Their children would form a bond that neither parent could have predicted. But tonight was simple. 2 broken families. 1 storm. And the first fragile threads of something that might become a bridge between their worlds. Or might burn them both down. Marcus closed his eyes and listened to his son teach a stranger's daughter about the stars. Morning light hit Marcus's face like an accusation. He jerked awake on the couch neck, stiff back, screaming from the broken spring that had been poking him for 3 years. The apartment was quiet. Too quiet. Then he heard it. Laughter. Coming from the kitchen. Marcus pushed himself up and followed the sound. What he found stopped him in the doorway. Isaiah stood at the stove flipping pancakes with the serious concentration of a surgeon. Lily sat at the table still in yesterday's clothes, giggling at something. And Victoria Ashford. Gold Coast cardiologist woman who'd cracked his window 12 hours ago, stood at the counter, sleeves rolled up, squeezing oranges into a pitcher. Dad. Isaiah spotted him first. Lily's never made pancakes before. Can you believe that? We have a cook, Lily said like this explained everything. Victoria turned. She looked different in daylight. Smaller somehow. The mascara was gone. The armor was gone. She was just a tired woman in yesterday's clothes making juice in a stranger's kitchen. I hope you don't mind, she said. Isaiah insisted on teaching Lily his pancake recipe. I didn't want to wake you. Marcus looked at his son. Your mama's recipe. Yeah. Isaiah's voice was careful. Lily said she never is that okay. Something cracked in Marcus's chest. His boy sharing the last piece of Denise he had left with a girl he'd known for 10 hours. It's okay, Marcus said. Your mama would have wanted you to share it. They ate breakfast together at the small table, 4 people squeezed into a space meant for 2. The pancakes were good. Isaiah had learned well. Lily ate 3 and asked for the recipe. You have to measure everything exactly, Isaiah explained. My mom said baking is science. You can't guess. My mom's a scientist too, Lily said. She cuts open people's hearts. That's not the same kind of science. Is too. Is not. Victoria caught Marcus's eye across the table. A small smile. The first one that reached her eyes. They've been like this all morning, she said quietly. arguing about everything. Best friends already. Marcus watched the children bicker over whether astronomy or medicine was more important. Something loosened in him, something that had been tight for 3 years. The moment broke when Victoria's phone buzzed. She'd charged it overnight, and now the screen lit up with notification after notification. Her face changed as she read them. "What's wrong?" "My father." Victoria set down the phone. "He knows I didn't come home last night. He sent his driver to my building. When I don't answer, he'll start making calls." "So tell him where you are." Victoria laughed. It wasn't a happy sound. "You don't know my father. Charles Ashford doesn't receive information. He controls it. If I tell him I spent the night at a stranger's apartment on the south side, what he'll call the cops disown you. He'll investigate you. Every speeding ticket, every tax return, every job you've ever worked. He'll know your blood type by noon." Marcus felt something cold settle in his stomach. Why? Because that's what he does. He protects his assets. And whether I like it or not, I'm one of them. The phone buzzed again. Victoria stared at it like it might bite. "I need to go," she said, "before this gets more complicated." "Mom," Lily's voice cut through, "I don't want to go. Isaiah was going to show me his star charts." "Baby, we can't stay here forever." "Why not?" Victoria looked at Marcus. He saw the exhaustion behind her eyes, the weight she carried that he was only beginning to understand. "Because this isn't our home, Lily. I like it better than our home." The words hung in the air. Simple, devastating, true. Victoria's face crumpled for half a second before she rebuilt it. "Get your things, sweetheart. Say goodbye to Isaiah." The children retreated to Isaiah's room, their voices low and disappointed. Marcus stood and started clearing dishes. "Thank you," Victoria said. "For everything. I don't know how to—" "I told you not to thank me." "I know. But I don't know what else to say. This—" She gestured at the small kitchen, the worn table, the photos of Denise on every wall. "This is the most human anyone's been to me in years." "That's a sad thing to say." "It's the truth." She reached into her purse and pulled out a business card. Set it on the table. "My personal number. Not the office, not the answering service. Mine." Marcus looked at the card but didn't pick it up. "If you ever need anything," Victoria said, "a doctor's appointment, help with insurance, anything, call me. I don't need charity." "I know you don't. That's not what I'm offering." She pushed the card closer. "I'm offering to be useful, the way you were useful to me." Before Marcus could respond, his phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something made him swipe. "Mr. Thompson." A male voice. Smooth. Professional. "This is Harold Chen from Ashford Properties. I'm calling on behalf of Charles Ashford." Marcus's eyes met Victoria's. Her face went white. "I don't know anyone named Ashford." "Mr. Ashford is aware of your assistance to his daughter last evening. He'd like to meet with you today to express his gratitude personally. A car will be at your residence in 1 hour." "I didn't agree to—" "Mr. Ashford insists. He's very grateful." The line went dead. "How did he get my number?" Victoria sank into a chair. "I told you, he investigates. He probably knows your number, your address, your employer, and what you had for dinner last Tuesday." "That's insane." "That's my father." Marcus stared at the phone in his hand, at the business card on the table, at this woman who'd crashed into his life 12 hours ago and was now dragging him into something he didn't understand. "I should have kept driving," he muttered. "Probably," Victoria agreed. "But you didn't. And now he knows you exist." The car arrived in exactly 1 hour. Black town car, driver in a suit, windows tinted dark enough to hide bodies. Marcus kissed Isaiah goodbye, left him with Mrs. Patterson, and climbed into the back seat, feeling like he was surrendering to an enemy he hadn't known he'd made. The driver didn't speak. Didn't need to. The car glided through Chicago streets like it owned them, heading north toward the towers of glass and steel, where people like Marcus only entered through service entrances. They stopped in front of a building that made Victoria's Tower look modest. Ashford Medical Holdings, 40 stories of chrome and ambition. "Penthouse office," the driver said. "Mr. Ashford is expecting you." The lobby was marble and silence. Security guards tracked Marcus's progress with expressions he recognized from every job site he'd ever worked. Evaluating, dismissing, tolerating. An elevator carried him to the top floor. The doors opened onto a reception area larger than his apartment. "Mr. Thompson." A woman in a designer suit approached. "Mr. Ashford will see you now." She led him through glass doors into an office that seemed designed to intimidate. Floor-to-ceiling windows, furniture that cost more than cars. And behind a desk the size of a boat, a man who radiated power like a nuclear reactor. Charles Ashford stood. Tall, silver-haired, eyes that calculated everything they touched. He extended his hand with a smile that didn't reach those eyes. "Mr. Thompson, thank you for coming." Marcus shook the hand. It was soft, the hand of a man who'd never lifted anything heavier than a pen. "I didn't have much choice." "No, I suppose you didn't." Ashford gestured to a chair. "Please, sit." Marcus remained standing. "What do you want, Mr. Ashford?" "Direct. I appreciate that." Ashford settled into his own chair, studying Marcus like a specimen. "I understand you provided considerable assistance to my daughter and granddaughter last night." "Her car broke down. I gave her a ride." "You brought them into your home, fed them, gave up your bed, refused payment." Ashford steepled his fingers. "That's more than a ride, Mr. Thompson." "It's what anyone would do." "No, it isn't. I know exactly what most people would do. Call a tow truck at best. Keep driving at worst. You stopped for a stranger in a storm and treated my family with dignity you had no obligation to provide." Marcus said nothing. Waiting. "I've looked into your background," Ashford continued. "Master electrician, 20 years in the trade, excellent reputation for quality work. Currently employed by Riverside Medical Center, ironic given I own 30% of that hospital. Is there a point to this? 3 jobs, 7 days a week, $160,000 in medical debt from your wife's illness." Ashford's voice was clinical. "You're drowning, Mr. Thompson. Slowly, invisibly, but drowning nonetheless." The words landed like blows. Marcus's jaw tightened. "That's none of your business." "I'm making it my business." Ashford opened a folder on his desk. "I'd like to offer you a position. Director of Facilities for Ashford Properties. You'd oversee maintenance and renovations for all my commercial and residential holdings. Salary is triple what you currently make combined. Full benefits. College fund for your son." Marcus stared at the folder, at the numbers printed on the page. "Why? Because you helped my family. That's not enough reason to offer a stranger a job that pays $200,000 a year." Ashford smiled. The cold one again. "You're right. It isn't." He stood moving to the window, his back to Marcus. "My daughter is brilliant. Harvard Medical, chief of cardiology at 34. But she has weaknesses. She trusts the wrong people. Her ex-husband nearly destroyed her financially before I intervened. She has no instinct for threats." "What does that have to do with me?" Ashford turned. "You have integrity, Mr. Thompson. It's written in every choice you've made, every job you've taken, every bill you've paid despite having nothing. Men like you are rare." "I'm not for sale." "Everyone is for sale. The only question is currency." Ashford sat back down. "I'm not buying your soul, Mr. Thompson. I'm buying your presence, in my orbit, near my daughter, where I can ensure she has someone of character in her life instead of the parasites who usually surround her." The truth of it, the cold transactional truth, sat between them like a bomb. You want me to watch her, report to you. I want you to be her friend, a genuine one, something she desperately needs and has never had. Friends aren't assigned, Mr. Ashford. They're chosen. And yet, here you are, already chosen whether you admit it or not. Ashford pushed the folder across the desk. Take the job. Help your son. Pay your debts. And along the way, perhaps you'll find that genuine friendship isn't as impossible as you think. Marcus looked at the folder, at the numbers, at the chance to give Isaiah everything Denise had dreamed of for him. What about Victoria? Does she know about this? She'll find out eventually. She'll be furious initially, but she'll come to see the wisdom of it. The wisdom of her father buying her a friend. The wisdom of surrounding herself with people who want nothing from her wealth. Ashford's voice hardened. Everyone else wants something, Mr. Thompson. The lawyers, the doctors, the men who take her to dinner, they all want access, advantage, position. You wanted to help a stranger get home to her daughter. That's worth more than you understand. Marcus picked up the folder, flipped through it. Job description, salary, benefits. A contract that would change his life. I need time to think. You have 48 hours. Ashford stood, signaling the meeting was over. But consider this: your son starts 5th grade in September. The Ashford Foundation provides full scholarships to the finest private schools in Chicago. Isaiah's name is already on the list. I didn't ask for that. No, but he deserves it. And we both know public school won't challenge him the way he needs to be challenged. Marcus walked to the door, stopped, turned back. If I take this job, I work for you. Not for your agenda, not to spy on your daughter, to do the job. That's it. That's all I'm asking. We both know that's not true. Ashford smiled, the real one this time, or something close to it. Perhaps not, but it's a good place to start. The driver took Marcus home in silence. He sat in the back seat with the folder on his lap, staring at numbers that would solve every problem he had. Triple salary. Benefits. College fund. Scholarship. All for the price of his independence. Mrs. Patterson met him at the door. You look like you've seen a ghost. Worse. I've seen the devil. The rich one, Victoria's father. Marcus nodded, handed her the folder. Mrs. Patterson read it slowly. Her eyebrows rose, then fell, then rose again. Lord have mercy. That's one way to put it. This would change everything for you and Isaiah. I know. But... Marcus sat down heavily on the couch. The same couch where he'd slept last night while two strangers dreamed in his bed. He wants to buy me Mrs. P. Dress it up however he wants, that's what it is. He wants to put me in his daughter's orbit and see what happens. And what do you think would happen? Marcus didn't answer. Couldn't answer. Because the truth was, he'd been thinking about Victoria Ashford since she walked out his door that morning. The way she'd looked making orange juice. The way she'd smiled at the children. The way she'd admitted his home felt more human than her own. She's not like him, Marcus said finally. She's complicated and guarded, and carries more weight than she shows. But she's not cold like him. And you know this after 12 hours. I know it the same way I knew Denise was the one after our first date. Some people you just see clearly. Mrs. Patterson handed the folder back. Then maybe that's your answer. What? Take the job for the right reasons. For Isaiah. For the security. But don't take it for him. Don't be his spy or his project. Take it and be yourself. The man who stops for strangers. The man who shares his home with people who have everything except warmth. You make it sound simple. Nothing's simple, but not everything is complicated either. She patted his shoulder. That woman needs a friend who sees her. Not her money or her family or her position. Her. Maybe you're that friend. Maybe you're not. But you won't know if you let pride make the decision. Isaiah came home from school that afternoon bursting with questions. Is Lily coming back? She said she'd teach me about heart surgery. Did her mom call? Are we going to see them again? Marcus looked at his son, at the light in his eyes that hadn't been there for 3 years. I don't know, buddy. Their lives are very different from ours. So different doesn't mean we can't be friends. The simplicity of childhood, the wisdom that adults complicated away. You're right, Marcus said. It doesn't. That night after Isaiah fell asleep, Marcus sat at the kitchen table with the folder open in front of him. He stared at the numbers until they blurred. Then he pulled out his phone and dialed the number on Victoria's business card. She answered on the second ring. Marcus, your father offered me a job. Silence. Long enough that Marcus checked if the call had dropped. I know, Victoria said finally. He told me an hour ago. He was quite pleased with himself. He wants me to spy on you. He wants to control everything in my life. You're just the latest piece on his chessboard. Are you angry? Another pause. I should be. A week ago I would have been furious. But... She stopped. Started again. My father sees people as assets or threats. The fact that he sees you as an asset means he respects you. That's rare. I don't want his respect. I want to know if I take this job, will you hate me for it? No. Her voice softened. I'll hate him for manipulating it, but not you. Never you. Why not? Because you called to ask. Because you're sitting there right now, probably staring at enough money to change your life, and your first instinct was to consider how it would affect someone you barely know. Victoria's voice cracked slightly. Nobody does that, Marcus. Not in my world. Your world sounds lonely. It is. It really is. They sat in silence for a moment. Two strangers on a phone line connected by a storm and a broken car and a daughter with a failing heart. Take the job, Victoria said. Take my father's money and use it for Isaiah. Put him through the best schools. Pay off your debt. Build the life your wife would have wanted for him. And you? I'll be fine. I'm always fine. The brittleness in her voice said otherwise. I don't believe you. You shouldn't. But take the job anyway, because if you don't, my father will find another way to insert himself into your life. At least this way you control the terms. Marcus looked at the photo of Denise on the refrigerator, at her smile, at the dreams they'd shared before lupus and debt and death. I'll take it, he said. But not for him. For Isaiah. And maybe what? Maybe to prove him wrong. About friendship being something you can buy. Victoria laughed. Soft. Surprised. Real. That might be the most dangerous thing you've ever done. Probably, but I've never played it safe. No, she agreed. I noticed that when you stopped for a screaming stranger in an ice storm. Worst decision of my life. Liar. Marcus smiled. First genuine smile in longer than he could remember. Good night, Victoria. Good night, Marcus. And thank you. For calling. For asking. For being the kind of person my father can't understand. Is that a compliment? The highest one I know how to give. She hung up. Marcus sat in the dark kitchen for another hour, the folder closed in front of him, his mind spinning with possibilities he'd never imagined. Tomorrow, he would sign a contract that would change everything. He would enter a world of wealth and power and manipulation. He would become a piece on Charles Ashford's chessboard. But he would play his own game. For Isaiah. For Denise's memory. And maybe, just maybe, for a lonely woman in a 12-room apartment who'd never had a friend she didn't have to buy. The storm had passed. But the real chaos was just beginning. 6 weeks into his new job, Marcus discovered what it meant to be useful to Charles Ashford. The call came at 7 a.m. on a Tuesday. Marcus was reviewing renovation plans for a medical office building when his phone buzzed with Harold Chen's smooth voice. Mr. Ashford requests your presence at the downtown headquarters. Board meeting at 9. Your attendance is required. I'm facilities director. What do I have to do with a board meeting? Mr. Ashford will explain. The line went dead. Marcus stared at his phone, the familiar unease settling in his gut. 6 weeks of triple salary and college fund deposits hadn't silenced the voice that whispered he was dancing with the devil. But Isaiah had new shoes. The medical debt was down to $140,000. And every Sunday afternoon, Lily came over with her mother to study astronomy with Isaiah. Some deals with the devil came with benefits. The boardroom occupied the entire 40th floor of Ashford Medical Holdings. 20 executives in suits that cost more than Marcus's first car sat around a table that could have doubled as an aircraft carrier. At the head, Charles Ashford presided like a king holding court. Victoria sat 3 chairs down, her face a mask of professional composure. She didn't look at Marcus when he entered. Didn't acknowledge him at all. They'd agreed to keep their friendship invisible in professional settings. Her father didn't need more ammunition. Gentlemen, Ashford's voice cut through the murmured conversations. And Dr. Ashford, of course. We have a situation that requires immediate attention. He pressed a button. A screen descended. The Meridian Healthcare logo filled the wall. Meridian has made an unsolicited offer to acquire controlling interest in Seattle Memorial Hospital and our affiliated community clinic network. The room shifted. Executives exchanged glances. Victoria's composure cracked for half a second's surprise, then calculation, then the mask again. The offer is generous, Ashford continued. Significantly above market value. Meridian proposes streamlining operations, reducing overhead, and refocusing our research initiatives toward more profitable treatment areas. A gray-haired executive leaned forward. What's the catch? The catch, Mr. Brennan, is what streamlining means in Meridian's vocabulary. Ashford clicked to the next slide. Staff reductions of 40%. Elimination of all community care programs, closure of 6 neighborhood clinics serving uninsured patients, and termination of our pediatric research initiatives, including... He paused, glancing at Victoria, the cardiac treatment program at Seattle Children's. Marcus felt the words land like punches. Community clinics, uninsured patients, the same facilities that served families like his, the same system that had failed Denise, but at least existed for people with nowhere else to go. The board will vote on this offer in 2 weeks. Ashford's eyes swept the room. I expect comprehensive impact assessments from each department head. We need to understand exactly what we'd be selling. Victoria's hand rose. Her voice was steady, but Marcus heard the steel beneath it. The Pediatric Cardiac Research Program has enrolled 300 children in experimental treatment protocols. Shutting it down would abandon them mid-treatment, including children with conditions like... She stopped, swallowed. Like long QT syndrome. Like Lily. She didn't say it. Didn't have to. All programs will be evaluated based on financial viability, Ashford replied. His tone gave nothing away. Emotional attachments cannot factor into decisions of this magnitude. It's not emotional attachment, it's medical ethics. Which is why your assessment will be particularly valuable, Dr. Ashford. You understand both sides. The meeting continued for another hour. Marcus sat in the back, forgotten, watching the chess pieces move across the board. He understood now why Ashford had summoned him, not for the meeting itself, but to witness Victoria's reaction, to gauge where her loyalties would fall. The man never stopped calculating. After the meeting dispersed, Marcus lingered in the hallway, pretending to check his phone. Victoria emerged last, her heels clicking against marble, her face tight with controlled fury. Not here, she said without looking at him. My office, 20 minutes. Her office occupied a corner of the medical tower, all glass and chrome and diplomas that most doctors would kill for. She closed the door behind Marcus with more force than necessary. You knew. Her voice was ice. You sat in that meeting like you knew. I didn't know anything. Your father's assistant called me this morning, told me to show up. And you didn't think to warn me. How was I supposed to warn you about something I didn't know was coming? Victoria paced the narrow space between her desk and the window. Her composure was crumbling, and Marcus realized he'd never seen her truly angry before. Controlled, yes. Frustrated occasionally. But this was different. This was fear dressed up as fury. Those clinics serve 50,000 patients a year, she said. People who can't afford insurance. People who work 3 jobs like you used to. If Meridian shuts them down, those people have nowhere to go. I know. The pediatric research program Marcus Lilly's treatment comes from that program. If they cancel it. I know. Victoria stopped pacing, looked at him. Really looked. Then help me stop it. How? The board votes in 2 weeks. My father presented Meridian's offer like he's considering it, but I know him. He's testing something. Testing people. He wants to see who pushes back and how hard. You think he's against the acquisition? I think he built this company from nothing, and the idea of selling it to corporate raiders makes him physically ill. But he'll never admit that. He'll make everyone else fight the battle while he watches from above. Marcus leaned against the doorframe. So what do you want me to do? The property assessments. The community clinics are on the potential sale list. My father assigned you to evaluate their market value and renovation needs. He wants me to help him sell them. Or he wants you to give him reasons not to. Victoria's eyes met his. You've been inside those buildings. You know their condition. You know the neighborhoods. If your assessment shows they're worth more as community assets than liquidation opportunities, then the board has ammunition to reject Meridian's offer. Exactly. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. The ceiling fan hummed overhead. Traffic sounds drifted up from 40 floors below. You're asking me to tank my own assessment, to give your father the opposite of what he officially requested. I'm asking you to tell the truth. The whole truth, not just the parts that make the sale look attractive. And if the truth supports Meridian's offer, if the buildings really are worth more sold than operating, Victoria's jaw tightened. Then we lose. But at least we lose honestly. Marcus thought about the clinics, about the one on Halstead, where he'd taken Isaiah for vaccinations when money was tight. About the waiting rooms full of people who looked like him, who worked jobs like his, who prayed they wouldn't get sick because sick meant choosing between medicine and rent. I'll need data, he said. Patient numbers, community impact statistics, the kind of information property assessors don't usually see. I can get that. The medical records are confidential, but aggregate data outcomes cost savings. Community health metrics, that's public information if you know where to look. And your father? When he figures out we're working together? Victoria's smile was thin and sharp. Let me worry about my father. They met every evening for the next week, sometimes at Victoria's apartment, sometimes at Marcus's. The children did homework together, while the adults spread documents across kitchen tables, building a case that neither of them was sure would work. The community clinics served 52,000 patients annually. They prevented an estimated 15,000 emergency room visits per year, visits that cost the healthcare system 10 times what the clinics spent on preventive care. They employed 200 people from the neighborhoods they served. They trained medical students who went on to work in underserved communities. The numbers told a story that Meridian's spreadsheets ignored. A story about human beings, not line items. This is good, Victoria said, reviewing Marcus's draft assessment. Really good, but it's not enough to change votes. The board cares about profit margins, not community impact. Then we need something they care about. Like what? Marcus flipped to a section he'd been working on separately. Long-term property values. These neighborhoods are changing. Gentrification is pushing north. In 5 years, the land these clinics sit on will be worth triple what Meridian's offering now. Victoria scanned the pages. Her eyebrows rose. You're arguing that keeping the clinics is a better investment than selling them. I'm arguing that Meridian's offer undervalues the assets, that selling now would be financially stupid, not just ethically wrong. That's... Victoria stopped, laughed. A real laugh, surprised and genuine. That's actually brilliant. Thank your father. He hired me because I know property values. Might as well use the expertise. They worked until midnight. When Victoria finally gathered her things to leave, she paused at the door. Marcus, why are you doing this? What do you mean? This could cost you your job. If my father realizes you're working against his official assignment. I'm not working against anything. I'm doing exactly what he asked. Comprehensive property assessment. All relevant factors. You know that's not what he meant. Marcus looked at her, at this woman who'd crashed into his life during a storm, and somehow become the closest thing to a friend he'd had since Denise died. My wife died because insurance companies decided she wasn't worth saving. Those clinics, they're not perfect. They can't cure everything. But they exist. They're there for people who have nowhere else to go. He shrugged. I spent 3 years being angry at a system I couldn't change. Now I have a chance to do something. Small maybe. Probably pointless. But something. Victoria was quiet for a long moment. It's not pointless, she said finally. And it's not small. It's the kind of thing that... She stopped. Started again. You're a good man, Marcus Thompson. Better than most people I've met in my entire life. That's a low bar given the people you know. Exactly. After she left, Marcus sat alone in his kitchen staring at the documents they'd assembled. Evidence and arguments and carefully constructed cases for preserving something that powerful people wanted to destroy. He thought about Denise, about what she would say if she could see him now, working for a billionaire, fighting corporate acquisitions, spending his evenings with a wealthy white cardiologist and her daughter. She'd laugh first. Then she'd tell him to be careful. Then she'd ask if Victoria made him happy. That last question was one Marcus wasn't ready to answer. The board meeting was scheduled for Thursday at 2 p.m. On Wednesday night, Charles Ashford invited Marcus to dinner. Not a request. An invitation delivered by Harold Chen, with the polite finality of a subpoena. A car would arrive at 7. Dress appropriately. Marcus wore his best suit, the one he'd bought for Denise's funeral. It still fit barely. He spent 20 minutes staring at himself in the mirror, trying to see what Ashford saw when he looked at him. An asset. A pawn. Something to be moved around the board. The restaurant was the kind of place that didn't list prices on the menu. Private room in the back, white tablecloths, wine that probably cost more than Marcus's monthly grocery budget. Ashford waited alone, a glass of something amber in his hand. He stood when Marcus entered but didn't offer his hand. Mr. Thompson, thank you for joining me. Did I have a choice? Everyone has choices. Most people just pretend they don't. Ashford gestured to a chair. Please, sit. They ordered. Or rather, Ashford ordered for both of them without consulting the menu. The waiter disappeared with silent efficiency. I've been reviewing your property assessments, Ashford said. Marcus's stomach tightened. And? They're thorough, impressively so. You've identified factors that our internal team overlooked entirely. Ashford swirled his drink. Long-term value projections, neighborhood development patterns, community integration metrics. That's my job. Your job is to assess buildings. You've assessed ecosystems. Ashford's eyes fixed on Marcus with unsettling intensity. You've also been meeting with my daughter every evening for the past week, compiling medical impact data that doesn't appear in standard property evaluations. So he knew. Of course he knew. Victoria asked for my perspective. I gave it. Your perspective. That's what you're calling it. What would you call it? Ashford set down his glass, leaned forward. I'd call it exactly what I hoped for when I hired you. Marcus blinked. What? You think I offered you this job because you helped Victoria during a storm. You think I invest $200,000 a year in gratitude. Ashford's smile was cold but almost approving. I hired you because you're incorruptible, because you see through bullshit the way surgeons see through skin, and because I knew with absolute certainty that when Meridian made their move, you would fight them. You planned this, all of it. I created conditions, the rest was up to you. Ashford leaned back. The board is divided. Half of them see dollar signs in Meridian's offer. They don't care about community clinics or research programs or anything that doesn't fit on a balance sheet. If I oppose the acquisition directly, they'll assume I'm being sentimental, an old man protecting his legacy. But if someone else opposes it, if the evidence opposes it, if the numbers show that selling is financially foolish, not just ethically wrong, then I can side with the numbers, protect my company and my reputation simultaneously. Marcus felt sick. Everything he'd done, every late night, every document, every argument he'd constructed had been anticipated, orchestrated, used. You manipulated me. I gave you an opportunity. You chose how to use it. Ashford's voice hardened. Don't pretend to be naive, Mr. Thompson. You knew my motives were complicated when you took this job. You took it anyway because your son needed shoes and your wife needed to stop drowning you from the grave. The mention of Denise Casual calculated ignited something in Marcus's chest. Don't talk about my wife. I'll talk about whatever serves my purposes. That's what power is. Ashford leaned forward again. Tomorrow you will present your assessment to the board. Every number, every projection, every argument you've assembled with my daughter's help. And when you're done, the board will vote to reject Meridian's offer. You're sure of that? I'm sure of you, which amounts to the same thing. The food arrived. Marcus didn't touch it. What happens to Victoria? Excuse me. When this is over, when she realizes you've been using both of us, what happens to her? Something flickered in Ashford's expression, too fast to read. My daughter is stronger than she appears. She'll be angry. She's always angry with me. But she'll understand eventually that everything I do is to protect her. Does she know that, or is that just what you tell yourself? The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Careful, Mr. Thompson. Why? Because you'll fire me. You need me tomorrow, and after tomorrow the assessment is done anyway. Marcus pushed back from the table. You want to know why I took this job? Because my son deserves better than I can give him alone. Because I'm tired of watching good people suffer while rich men play games. And because I thought, stupid as it sounds, that maybe I could do some good from the inside. And now I know exactly where I stand. Useful. Temporary. Disposable once the game is over. Ashford studied him for a long moment. Then he laughed. A real laugh, genuine and unexpected. You're wrong, you know. About being disposable. He picked up his fork. You're the most interesting person I've encountered in years, Mr. Thompson. My daughter trusts you. My granddaughter adores you. And you just spoke to me the way no one has dared in decades. That's supposed to make me feel better. It's supposed to make you understand that your position is more secure than you imagine. Not because I need you for tomorrow, because you're exactly what my family needs. Ashford took a bite of his steak. Whether you believe that or not is entirely up to you. Marcus walked out of the restaurant without eating. The car waited to take him home, but he waved it off and walked instead. 3 miles through Chicago streets, his mind churning with everything Ashford had revealed. The man was a manipulator, a puppet master, someone who saw people as pieces to be moved around his personal chessboard. But he was also, in his twisted way, right. The clinics would stay open. The research program would continue. Lily's treatment would survive. 50,000 patients would keep getting care they couldn't afford anywhere else. Was it manipulation if the outcome was good? Was it corruption if the corruption served the powerless? Marcus didn't have answers. Wasn't sure answers existed. He got home at midnight. Isaiah was asleep. Mrs. Patterson had left a note on the counter. Victoria called. Said good luck tomorrow. Said she's proud of you, proud of him, for being used, for playing a game he didn't fully understand, for winning something that wasn't really his victory. Marcus crumpled the note and threw it away. Then he fished it out of the trash and smoothed it on the counter. Proud of you. When was the last time anyone had said that to him? He sat at the kitchen table with the presentation he'd prepared for tomorrow. 50 pages of numbers and arguments and carefully constructed evidence. Every word true. Every calculation accurate. Every conclusion designed to achieve exactly what Charles Ashford wanted, but also what Victoria wanted, and what Marcus wanted, and what Denise would have wanted if she'd lived long enough to see this moment. Maybe that was enough. Maybe being used for good purposes was different from being used for bad ones. Maybe the ends justified the means when the ends were 50,000 people keeping their access to health care. Or maybe he was just telling himself stories to avoid the truth that he'd become exactly what Ashford wanted him to be. A weapon aimed at the right target, a tool in the hands of a master. Marcus closed the presentation, turned off the lights, went to bed. Tomorrow he would stand in front of a board of directors and fight for something that mattered. He would win. Ashford had made sure of that, and then he would figure out what came next. One battle at a time, one compromise at a time, one small victory against a system designed to crush people like him. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't even close to perfect, but it was something. The board voted 17-3 against Meridian's offer. Marcus watched the hands rise from his seat in the back of the room, his presentation still glowing on the screen behind him. 3 hours of questions, challenges, and barely concealed hostility from executives who'd already counted their bonuses. 3 hours of defending numbers that didn't lie even when the people asking wished they would. And now it was over. Victoria caught his eye across the room. She didn't smile, couldn't nod in front of these people, but something passed between them. Gratitude. Relief. The shared exhaustion of a battle won. Charles Ashford stood at the head of the table, his face revealing nothing. The motion to accept Meridian Healthcare's acquisition offer has been defeated, he announced. Community clinic operations will continue. Research programs will proceed as planned. This meeting is adjourned. The room emptied slowly. Executives filed out with expressions ranging from relief to barely concealed fury. Marcus gathered his materials, keeping his head down, feeling the weight of what he'd done settle into his bones. Mr. Thompson. Ashford's voice stopped him at the door. The room was nearly empty now, just the two of them, and Victoria, who'd paused mid-step at her father's summons. Excellent presentation. The long-term valuation projections were particularly compelling. Thank you, sir. You've earned a considerable bonus. Harold will have the details for you by end of day. Ashford's eyes flicked to his daughter, then back to Marcus. You've also earned my continued trust. Use it wisely. The dismissal was clear. Marcus nodded and walked out, feeling Victoria's gaze follow him into the hallway. She caught up with him at the elevator. We did it! Her voice was barely above a whisper, conscious of the glass walls and watching eyes. The clinics stay open. The research continues. Lily's treatment. I know. Then why do you look like we lost? Marcus jabbed the elevator button harder than necessary. Because your father orchestrated the whole thing, every move, every argument. He knew exactly how this would end before the meeting started. Does that matter? The outcome is what we wanted. It matters to me. The elevator arrived. They stepped inside the doors, closing on the executive floor and its carefully controlled chaos. He told you, Victoria said. Not a question. Last night, over dinner I didn't eat. What exactly did he tell you? That he hired me to fight Meridian. That he knew I'd work with you. That every choice I thought I was making was actually a choice he'd already predicted. Victoria leaned against the elevator wall. Her composure cracked slightly, not into anger, but something sadder. Resignation. That sounds like my father. Doesn't it bother you? Of course it bothers me. It's been bothering me for 34 years. She met his eyes. But I've learned to separate the manipulation from the outcomes. He uses people. He uses me. But sometimes the things he uses us for are worth doing anyway. That's a hell of a way to live. Welcome to my family. The elevator reached the lobby. They walked out together past security guards who nodded at Victoria and watched Marcus with the familiar assessment he'd learned to ignore. I need to get to the hospital, Victoria said. Surgery's this afternoon. But tonight, can you bring Isaiah to my place? Lily's been asking about him. And I think we both need to decompress after today. Sure. She started toward the parking garage, then stopped, turned back. Marcus, whatever my father's motives were, thank you. For standing up there. For saying things that could have cost you everything. For caring about people you'll never meet. It's called basic human decency. In my world, it's called rare. She smiled, small, tired, genuine. See you tonight. The celebration at Victoria's apartment was quiet by necessity. Lily needed to stay calm. Her heart condition demanded it, but the joy in her eyes when Isaiah arrived made up for the lack of balloons and noise. Isaiah, Mom says the hospital program is saved. That means I can keep getting my special medicine. Isaiah hugged her carefully the way Marcus had taught him. Gentle, aware of her fragility. That's awesome, Lily. I told you it would work out. You didn't know that. I know your mom, and I know my dad. They fix things. Victoria and Marcus watched from the kitchen, glasses of wine in hand that neither of them was really drinking. He has a lot of faith in you, Victoria observed. He has faith in us. Both of us. Marcus set down his glass. Kids are smarter than we think. They see the connections adults try to hide. What connections? The fact that we've spent every evening together for weeks, that his best friend happens to be your daughter, that he hasn't asked about the just friends explanation since the second week. Victoria's cheeks flushed slightly. He's asked you about that. Last Tuesday. Wanted to know if you were going to be his new mom. The color deepened. What did you tell him? That life isn't a fairy tale. That relationships between adults are complicated. That he shouldn't plan the wedding before the first date. We haven't had a first date. I'm aware. They stood in silence, the elephant in the room growing larger with each passing second. Would you want one? Victoria asked finally. A first date. If circumstances were different. If my father wasn't, if this whole situation wasn't. Yes. The word came out faster than Marcus intended, more honest than he'd meant to be. Victoria blinked. Just like that. Just like that. You asked? I answered. He picked up his wine glass again, more to have something to do with his hands than out of thirst. But circumstances aren't different. Your father hired me. He watches everything we do, and I'm not sure I can separate what I feel from what he's engineered me to feel. He didn't engineer your feelings, Marcus. He created opportunities. What you feel is your own. How do you know? How do I know? Maybe this is exactly what he wanted. The widower and the single mother falling for each other while their children bond. The perfect narrative. The perfect control. Victoria set down her own glass. Stepped closer. My father is many things. Manipulative. Controlling. Obsessed with outcomes. But he can't manufacture chemistry. He can't create the way I feel when you walk into a room. He can't fake the fact that you're the first person in years I've wanted to be honest with. Victoria. I'm not finished. Her voice was quiet but fierce. I've spent my entire adult life being careful, calculated, protecting myself from people who want my money or my connections or my father's approval. I've been engaged twice, both times to men my father vetted and approved. Both times it ended because I realized they were performing emotions they didn't feel. I'm not performing anything. I know. That's what terrifies me. She reached out, touched his hand. You're real, Marcus. Impossibly, inconveniently real. You don't want anything from me except what conversation, companionship. Whatever this is that we've been building over Sunday dinners and late-night strategy sessions. I want... He stopped. Started again. I want to know you. The real you, not the surgeon or the heiress or the perfect mother. I want to know what scares you and what makes you laugh and what you think about at 3 a.m. when you can't sleep. That's a lot to want. I know. I'm not in a position to want it. I work for your father. I'm still paying off my dead wife's medical bills. I live in a 2-bedroom apartment on the south side with furniture from Goodwill. And I live in a $15 million penthouse and feel lonelier than you can imagine. Victoria's hand tightened on his. Your furniture doesn't matter, Marcus. Your bank account doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is whether you're willing to take a risk on something that might not work. Before he could answer, Lily's voice rang out from the living room. Mom, Isaiah says Saturn has 62 moons. Is that true? Victoria smiled, the intensity of the moment fracturing into something softer. It's true, baby. Some scientists think there might be even more. She pulled away from Marcus, the physical connection breaking, even as something else solidified. Think about it, she said quietly. No pressure, no timeline. Just think about it. Marcus thought about it. For 3 days he thought about little else. He thought about Denise, about the promises he'd made at her bedside, about whether loving someone new meant betraying someone gone. He thought about Isaiah, about the light in his son's eyes when Lily was around, about the family they'd built from fragments of other families. He thought about Charles Ashford, about manipulation and opportunity, and whether it was possible to find something real inside something constructed. On the 4th day, Lily collapsed at school. The call came at 2:17 p.m. Marcus was reviewing blueprints in his office when his phone buzzed with Victoria's number. Her voice was controlled, surgically controlled, but he heard the terror underneath. Lily's at Seattle Children's. Cardiac episode during PE. They're running tests now. Marcus was in his car before she finished speaking. I'm on my way. What do they know? Nothing yet. They're doing an echo checking her rhythm running blood work. Her voice cracked for half a second. She was playing basketball. She knows she's not supposed to run, but the other kid, she just wanted to be normal Marcus. She just wanted to play. She's going to be okay. You don't know that. I'm a cardiologist and I don't know that. Victoria's breathing was ragged. I can't do this alone. I know that's not fair to ask, but I'm coming. 15 minutes. He broke every speed limit between Ashford Properties and Seattle Children's. The familiar hospital smell hit him like a fist when he burst through the emergency entrance, antiseptic and fear, and the particular quality of fluorescent light that would forever remind him of Denise's final weeks. Victoria stood in the pediatric cardiac unit, still in her scrubs from the surgery she'd abandoned mid-schedule. Her face was pale. Her hands were shaking. She looked like a mother, not a doctor. Terrified. Human. Marcus. She grabbed his hand without preamble. They won't tell me anything. I'm her doctor. I'm her mother, and they won't tell me anything because there's nothing to tell yet. Where is she? Room 412. They're doing the echo now. I can't be in their conflict of interest hospital policy. Her voice rose in pitch. I fix hearts for a living and I can't be in the room while they check my daughters. Marcus pulled her into his arms. She resisted for half a second, old habits, professional boundaries, and then collapsed against him. Her whole body shook with the effort of not crying. She's going to be okay, he said again. She's the strongest kid I know. Stubborn as hell, just like her mother. Stubbornness doesn't fix arrhythmias. No, but it helps you survive them. They waited. 2 hours that felt like years. Victoria paced. Marcus sat. Nurses came and went with sympathetic looks and no information. Finally, a doctor emerged. Young, Asian. Circles under his eyes that said he'd been on shift too long. Dr. Ashford, I'm Dr. Kim, Pediatric Cardiology. I know who you are. We've consulted before. Tell me. Doctor. Kim glanced at Marcus, clearly uncertain about discussing medical details in front of a stranger. Victoria's hand shot out and grabbed Marcus's arm. He stays. Very well. Lily experienced a sustained ventricular tachycardia episode. Heart rate peaked at 220 before we achieved chemical cardioversion. She's stable now, but... He hesitated. But what? Her condition is progressing faster than we anticipated. The long QT syndrome is more severe than her previous assessment suggested. The experimental treatment protocol has been helping, but it's not enough. Victoria's voice was flat. Dead. We need to consider more aggressive intervention. The FDA just approved a new device, a cardiac event monitor with defibrillation capability. It's minimally invasive. We can implant it through a catheter, no open-heart surgery required. When? Tomorrow, ideally. The longer we wait, the higher the risk of another episode, one that might not resolve as easily. Victoria nodded mechanically. Her face had gone pale, bloodless, the face of someone processing the worst news imaginable through sheer professional discipline. Can I see her? She's asking for you. Room 412. Victoria moved toward the room, then stopped. Looked back at Marcus. Come with me, please. Lily looked impossibly small in the hospital bed. Wires and monitors attached to her small body. Her face was pale, but her eyes brightened when she saw them. Mommy, Mr. Thompson. Her voice was thin, tired. I'm sorry. I know I wasn't supposed to run. Victoria rushed to her daughter's side, gathering her carefully, mindful of the wires. Baby, it's not your fault. None of this is your fault. The other kids were playing. I just wanted... Lily's lip trembled. I just wanted to be normal, like Isaiah. Marcus felt something break in his chest. This little girl, this brave, stubborn, terrified little girl who wanted nothing more than what every kid wanted, to run, to play, to be like everyone else. Hey, Lily. He moved to the other side of the bed. You know what normal is boring? You're way more interesting than normal. But I had to leave in an ambulance. Everyone saw. Now they'll treat me different. Maybe, or maybe they'll think you're tough. Because you know what? Getting your heart to behave itself takes way more strength than running around a basketball court. Lily studied him with eyes too old for her face. Is Isaiah worried about me? He doesn't know yet. But when I tell him he's going to demand I bring him straight here, that's how much he cares about you. Really? Really? You're his best friend, Lily. Best friends don't care about normal or different. They just care about each other. Victoria's hand found Marcus's over the bed rail. She squeezed, hard. The next morning, Marcus was in the surgery waiting room when Charles Ashford arrived. The old man looked different than Marcus had ever seen him. Rumpled, unshaven. The crisp authority replaced by something rawer. He walked straight to where Marcus sat and lowered himself into the adjacent chair without greeting. I got here as fast as I could. How is she? In surgery. Victoria's in the observation gallery. They wouldn't let her scrub in. Of course not. She'd try to take over the operation. Ashford's voice was tired, almost human. Tell me what happened. Marcus explained. The collapse, the diagnosis, the emergency intervention. Ashford listened without interruption, his face growing grayer with each detail. This treatment protocol, Ashford said when Marcus finished. The one that's been helping her. That's part of the research program we just saved. Yes. If Meridian had acquired us, if they'd shut down that program, she might not have made it this far. Ashford was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different, stripped of the authority and calculation that usually armored every word. My grandson Victoria's brother died when he was 12, leukemia. It destroyed my first marriage, nearly destroyed Victoria. I swore I would never watch another child in my family suffer. I would build hospitals, fund research, buy the best doctors money could afford. Marcus said nothing, just listened. But you can't buy everything. Ashford looked at his hands. You can't buy time, you can't buy immunity, you can't buy the guarantee that the people you love will be safe. He looked at Marcus. You understand that better than most. Yes. Your wife, cancer, Experimental treatments your insurance wouldn't cover. Ashford's voice was flat, clinical. I read your file when I hired you. I know what you went through, what you're still paying for. Is there a point to this, Mr. Ashford? The point is that I've spent 30 years building a healthcare empire because I thought money could protect my family from suffering. And now my granddaughter is in surgery, and all my money is worthless. His voice cracked. The only thing that matters is that little girl surviving. Everything else, the companies, the acquisitions, the power games, none of it means anything. Marcus felt something shift in his understanding of this man. Charles Ashford was still a manipulator, still a chess player. But beneath all that armor was a grandfather watching his granddaughter fight for her life. She's strong, Marcus said. Stubborn as hell. Like her mother. Like you, probably. Ashford almost smiled. Victoria gets her stubbornness from her mother. She gets her need for control from me. It's an unfortunate combination. It's also the reason she's one of the best cardiologists in the country. Is it? Ashford turned to face Marcus fully. I've been watching you, Mr. Thompson, watching how you interact with my daughter, with my granddaughter, with this whole situation I created. I know you have. You're angry about that, about being used. Wouldn't you be? I'd be furious. I'd also be smart enough to recognize the opportunity. Ashford leaned forward. I hired you because you're incorruptible. Because I knew you'd fight for the right things. But I kept you because of something I didn't expect. What's that? You make them happy. Victoria, Lily. You bring something into their lives that I've never been able to provide. His voice dropped. Warmth, normalcy, the sense that they're valued for who they are, not what they represent. Marcus didn't know how to respond. This was not the Charles Ashford he'd come to know. This was someone else. Someone smaller. Someone real. I don't know if Lily will survive this surgery. Ashford's voice was barely a whisper. I don't know if any of my money or power can protect her. But I know that whatever happens, Victoria will need someone. Someone who isn't trying to gain advantage. Someone who sees her. Mr. Ashford. You asked me once if I understood that friendship can't be bought. I don't. I've never understood that. But I understand that what you feel for my daughter isn't performance. It isn't strategy. It's real. Ashford's eyes were wet. Whatever happens in that operating room, I need you to promise me something. What? Don't leave her. Whatever happens between you, whether it becomes romance or stays friendship, don't leave her. She's lost too much already. Lost her brother. Lost her sister, Lily's biological mother. Lost her faith in people. She can't lose you too. I wasn't planning on going anywhere. Plans change. Life changes. People disappoint each other. Ashford grabbed Marcus's arm with surprising strength. Promise me. Marcus looked at this old man, this manipulator, this puppet master, this grandfather who was falling apart in a hospital waiting room because his granddaughter's heart was being repaired by surgeons he didn't control. I promise. 2 hours later, the surgeon emerged. Victoria was right behind him, still in the scrubs she'd been wearing for 36 hours straight. The surgery was successful. The surgeon addressed Charles Ashford, who had risen the moment the door opened. The device is implanted and functioning. Lily is in recovery. She's stable. Marcus felt his knees go weak. Victoria grabbed his hand and didn't let go. Can we see her? Ashford asked. One at a time. She's weak and needs rest. Victoria looked at her father. Something unspoken passed between them. You go first, she said quietly. She'll want to see her grandfather. Ashford nodded once, walked toward the recovery room. Stopped. Victoria. His voice was rough. You chose well. With Thompson. You chose well. Then he disappeared through the door. Victoria sagged against Marcus, the weight of the last 2 days finally crashing down on her. She's okay. The words came out in a sob. She's okay. She's okay. Marcus held her. Let her fall apart. Let himself fall apart a little too. She's okay, he confirmed. Strongest kid I know. I can't do this alone anymore, Marcus. Victoria's voice was muffled against his chest. I've been doing it alone for so long. Being strong for everyone. Holding everything together. I can't. Then don't. He tilted her chin up, made her look at him. You don't have to do this alone. Not anymore. Is that a promise? It's a fact. She kissed him. Right there in the hospital waiting room, surrounded by strangers and bad coffee and the lingering smell of fear. She kissed him like it was the first time and the last time and the only thing that mattered. When they finally pulled apart, Marcus saw something he'd never seen before in Victoria Ashford's eyes. Hope. Isaiah doesn't know yet, he said. About the surgery. About Lily. He's going to lose his mind when I tell him. Bring him tomorrow. Lily's going to want to see him. You sure she needs rest? She needs her friend, same as I need mine. Victoria smiled. Tired, real, beautiful. Same as I need you. Marcus pulled her close again, held her. Let the world shrink down to the two of them and the slow rhythm of breathing. I'm not going anywhere, he said quietly. And for the first time in 3 years, he knew exactly what he meant. 3 months after the surgery, Lily ran for the first time in 2 years. Marcus watched from the dock at the Ashford Lake House as she sprinted across the manicured lawn, Isaiah chasing her with exaggerated slowness to give her a chance. The cardiac monitor implanted beneath her skin kept silent watch, ready to intervene if her heart faltered. It didn't falter. It beat steady and strong, the rhythm of a child finally allowed to be a child. She's getting faster. Victoria appeared beside him, 2 cups of coffee in hand. She'd traded her surgical scrubs for jeans and a sweater. Weekend clothes that still looked like they cost more than Marcus's monthly rent, but somehow felt normal now. Isaiah's letting her win. I know, she knows too, but she doesn't care. Victoria handed him a cup. She told me this morning that she wants to try soccer in the spring. Can you imagine 6 months ago she couldn't walk up a flight of stairs without resting? Marcus sipped his coffee. Watched the children tumble onto the grass, laughing at something only they understood. Your father's been different lately. Victoria stiffened slightly. Different how? Less calculated. When he calls me into his office, he actually asks about Isaiah. Not as an information-gathering exercise, like he genuinely wants to know. The surgery changed him, watching Lily fight for her life. Victoria paused. He told me something last week, said he'd spent so long trying to control outcomes that he forgot some things can't be controlled. Some things just have to be lived. That doesn't sound like Charles Ashford. No, it doesn't. She turned to face him. He also said he approves of us, whatever us means. Marcus laughed. I'm sure that approval comes with conditions. Surprisingly few. He said, and I'm quoting here, Thompson is the first man in your life I haven't had to investigate for ulterior motives. His only agenda seems to be loving you. I find that refreshing. The word hung between them. Loving. Neither of them had said it yet. Not directly. Not in the daylight hours when reality pressed in with its complications and questions. But Marcus had felt it growing. Every Sunday dinner at his apartment. Every late-night phone call when Victoria needed to decompress after a difficult surgery. Every moment when their children's laughter filled spaces that had been silent for too long. He's not wrong, Marcus said quietly. Victoria's breath caught. About which part? The agenda part. The only agenda part. He set down his coffee cup, turned to face her fully. I've been trying to figure out how to say this, how to say it right. But there isn't a right way, is there? There's just the truth. Marcus, I love you. The words came out simpler than he'd expected. Cleaner. I don't know when it started. Maybe that first night watching you fall apart over your daughter. Maybe later when I realized you were the first person since Denise who made me want to be more than just surviving." Victoria's eyes were bright, wet. "I'm not saying this because your father approves, or because our kids are best friends, or because it would make a neat ending to everything that's happened." Marcus took her hands. "I'm saying it because it's true. Because you deserve to hear it. Because I spent 3 years thinking I'd never feel this way again, and then you cracked my window and changed everything." "I cracked your window?" Victoria laughed through tears. "That's the most romantic thing anyone's ever said to me." "I'll add it to the list of ways I'm not smooth." "I don't want smooth." She stepped closer. "I want real. I want someone who tells me the truth, even when it's hard. I want someone who fights for things that matter, even when it costs them. I want—" She stopped, took a breath. "I want you, Marcus. I've wanted you since that first morning when you made pancakes in your tiny kitchen and looked at your son like he was the center of your universe." "He is the center of my universe. I know. That's what made me fall in love with you." The word again. Love. This time from her. Marcus kissed her, slow and certain the way he'd been wanting to for months. She tasted like coffee and something sweeter, like possibility, like the future. "Mom, Dad." They broke apart as Isaiah and Lily came running toward the dock. Isaiah had started calling Victoria Mom 2 weeks ago, tentatively at first, then with increasing confidence when she didn't correct him. Lily had been calling Marcus Dad almost as long. The children skidded to a stop in front of them, breathless and grass-stained. "Did you see me run?" Lily demanded. "I was so fast, Isaiah said I was faster than some kids at his school." "I said you were faster than Tommy Mitchell," Isaiah corrected. "And Tommy Mitchell has asthma, so that's not saying much." "It's still saying something." Victoria knelt to Lily's level. "I saw you, baby. You were amazing. Can I try out for soccer?" "Please, Dr. Kim said my heart is doing great. He said the monitor will keep me safe. He said—" "We'll talk about it," Victoria said. "But yes, probably. If you keep taking your medication and listening to your body." Lily threw her arms around her mother's neck. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." Isaiah caught Marcus's eye. Something passed between them. Father and son reading each other the way they'd learned to over 9 years of just the two of them. "You look happy, Dad." "I am happy, buddy." "Is it because you kissed Dr. Victoria?" Marcus felt his face heat. "You saw that—" "We were watching from the hill. Lily said it was gross. I said it was about time." Victoria stood brushing grass from her jeans. "About time? Dad's been talking about you for months." Isaiah shrugged with the casual brutality of childhood honesty. "He thinks you're beautiful and smart and way out of his league. He says that last part under his breath when he thinks I'm not listening but I have really good hearing." "Isaiah, what it's true." He looked at Victoria. "You're not out of his league, though. In case you were wondering, my dad's the best person I know. He works harder than anyone. He always keeps his promises. And he makes really good pancakes." Victoria's expression softened. "He does make good pancakes. Those are my mom's recipes. He learned them so he could teach me someday. So I could teach my kids." Isaiah's voice wavered slightly, the first crack in his confident presentation. "I think my mom would like you. She always said Dad needed someone who saw how special he was." The words landed like stones in still water, ripples spreading outward. Marcus pulled his son into a hug, held him tight. "She would have loved you too, buddy. Both of you." "I know." Isaiah's voice was muffled against Marcus's chest. "I still miss her sometimes. But it's different now. Missing her doesn't hurt as much when there are people to fill up the empty spaces." Victoria's hand found Marcus's shoulder. Lily pressed against her mother's side. 4 people standing on a dock, bound together by loss and love, and the strange alchemy that turns strangers into family. "Should we go inside?" Victoria asked. "Your grandfather wanted to talk to everyone before dinner." The lake house felt different than it had during Marcus's first visit. Less like a museum, more like a home. Lily's drawings covered the refrigerator. Isaiah's astronomy books occupied a shelf in the study. Signs of life in spaces that had been sterile before. Charles Ashford waited in the living room, standing by the fireplace, with the careful posture of a man about to deliver a prepared speech. He'd aged in the months since Lily's surgery. The silver in his hair seemed brighter, the lines on his face deeper. But there was something else too. Something that looked almost like peace. Good. Everyone's here. Ashford gestured toward the couches. Sit, please. They arranged themselves, Marcus and Victoria on one couch, Isaiah and Lily on the other. The children exchanged confused glances. Adult meetings with grandfather usually meant something serious. I've made some decisions, Ashford began. About the company, about the family, about the future. Victoria tensed beside Marcus. Father, let me finish. Ashford's voice was firm, but not harsh. I've spent 40 years building Mitchell Medical Holdings. Building it, controlling it, treating it like the only thing that mattered. He paused. I was wrong. Marcus felt Victoria's shock without looking at her. Charles Ashford admitting error was unprecedented. When Lily was in surgery, I realized something I should have understood decades ago. The company is just buildings and balance sheets. The research programs, the clinics, the hospitals, they matter because they help people. Real people. Not because they add zeros to our net worth. He moved to sit in the chair across from them, the formal posture finally relaxing. I'm restructuring the company. 50% of annual profits will go to a foundation community healthcare access pediatric research support for families facing medical bankruptcy. His eyes found Marcus. The kind of support that might have saved your wife's life if it had existed when she needed it. The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. He hadn't expected this. Hadn't imagined Ashford would remember, let alone acknowledge what his family had gone through. The foundation will be named after Denise, Ashford continued. The Denise Thompson Memorial Fund. If that's acceptable to you, Mr. Thompson? Marcus couldn't speak. His throat had closed around something too large for words. Father. Victoria's voice was thick with emotion. That's why. Because she deserved better than what our healthcare system gave her. Because her son deserved to have his mother for more than 6 years. Because the man who stopped for my daughter in a storm should never have had to watch his wife die from a disease we could have treated if money hadn't been a barrier. Ashford leaned forward, his eyes on Marcus. You asked me once if I understood that friendship couldn't be bought. I didn't understand then. I think I'm beginning to understand now. He extended his hand. I'm not offering friendship, Mr. Thompson. I'm offering partnership. Help me build something that matters. Something that honors the people we've lost. Marcus took the hand, shook it. Felt something shift between them. Not quite friendship, but something real. Something earned rather than engineered. I'd be honored, Mr. Ashford. Charles. Ashford's grip tightened briefly. We're family now. Or will be soon, I suspect. Call me Charles. The evening that followed was unlike any Marcus had experienced in the Ashford world. Dinner wasn't formal. It was chaotic, with children interrupting adult conversations and inside jokes bouncing across the table. Victoria laughed more freely than Marcus had ever seen her. Even Charles Ashford cracked genuine smiles at his granddaughter's elaborate stories about school and friends, and the boy in her class who'd proposed marriage with a ring pop. After dinner, Isaiah asked if he could show Lily the telescope on the upstairs balcony. The night was clear, stars scattered across the sky like diamonds on black velvet. Go ahead, Marcus said, but bring jackets. It's cold. The children thundered upstairs, leaving the adults in sudden quiet. There's something else, Charles said. He reached into his jacket pocket and withdrew an envelope. Something I've been waiting for the right moment to share. He handed the envelope to Victoria. She opened it, pulled out a document, and went very still. "What is it?" Marcus asked. Victoria looked up. Her eyes were wet again. "It's the deed to Emma's house. My sister's house. The one she was trying to buy when she..." She stopped. Swallowed. "I didn't know you kept it." "I bought it after the accident. Couldn't bear to let strangers live where she'd planned to raise Lily." Charles's voice was rough. "I've been maintaining it. Waiting." "Waiting for what?" "For Lily to be old enough to know. For you to be happy enough to consider it." Charles looked at Marcus. "For your family to be complete enough to fill it." Victoria set down the document. Her hands were shaking. "Father, I can't." "It's not a gift," Charles interrupted. "It's not leverage or manipulation or another move in some game. It's just a house, Emma's house, where she wanted Lily to grow up." He took a breath. "Where I think she'd want both children to grow up, if that's what you decide." Marcus understood then what Charles was really offering. Not just property, not just generosity, a blessing. The closest thing to unconditional acceptance a man like Charles Ashford could provide. "We should look at it," Marcus heard himself say, "before we decide anything." Victoria turned to him. "You would consider you would actually. Isaiah and Lily are already siblings in every way that matters. If there's a house where they could have a real home together, where you and I could build something." He stopped. Started again. "Denise used to talk about finding the right place. Not the biggest place or the fanciest place. The right place. Where our family could grow. And you think Emma's house might be that place?" "I think we should find out." Charles stood. "I'll have the keys sent over tomorrow. Take your time. There's no pressure, no timeline, no..." He smiled, and for the first time it looked genuine. No agenda. He walked toward the stairs, then paused. "One more thing, Mr. Thompson." Marcus. The name still sounded strange on his tongue. "My investigator tells me your medical debt is down to $47,000. I'd like to clear the remainder." Charles. "I can't. It's not charity. Consider it a signing bonus for your new role with the foundation. Consider it back pay for everything you've done for my family. Consider it whatever you need to consider it to accept." Ashford's voice was firm. "But accept it. Please. Let me do this one thing without complication." Marcus looked at Victoria. She nodded slowly. "Okay," Marcus said. "Thank you." "Thank you," Charles corrected, "for stopping in that storm, for being exactly who you are, for giving my daughter and granddaughter something I never could." He climbed the first stair, then looked back. That's not manipulation, by the way. That's just the truth. After Charles disappeared upstairs, Victoria collapsed against Marcus on the couch. The weight of the evening, the announcements, the revelations, the overwhelming evidence that their lives were changing in ways neither had planned pressed down on both of them. "This is really happening," Victoria murmured. "All of it." "Seems like it." "A year ago, I was alone in a $15 million apartment counting the hours until Lily's next medical crisis. Now I'm sitting here with a man I love planning to look at a house where we might raise our children together." She laughed, slightly hysterical. "How does this happen?" "Ice storm, broken alternator, cracked window." "You really need to let go of the window thing." "Never. That window is the most important broken thing in my entire life." Victoria lifted her head to look at him. In the firelight, her eyes held something Marcus had been searching for since Denise died. Not replacement. Nothing could replace what he'd lost. But something new. Something different. Something equally precious. "I love you," she said. "I don't know if I said it clearly enough before with all the chaos. But I love you, Marcus Thompson. I love your stubbornness and your integrity and the way you make pancakes. I love how you look at Isaiah like he's your entire world. I love that you stopped for a stranger in a storm and somehow ended up here. Here is a good place to end up. The best place. She kissed him softly. What do you think happens now? Now we go upstairs and tell our children that we're looking at a house together. We watch Isaiah try to act cool while secretly being thrilled. We watch Lily plan which room she wants before we've even seen the floor plan. And after that we figure it out as we go, day by day, problem by problem, joy by joy. Marcus pulled her closer. That's what families do. The word settled between them. Family. Not the one either of them had started with. Not the one either had imagined building. But real, nonetheless. We should go up, Victoria said, before the children set up permanent camp on the balcony. They climbed the stairs together, hands intertwined. The house was quiet, except for the murmur of young voices drifting from above Isaiah, explaining orbital mechanics, while Lily asked questions that somehow connected Saturn's moons to her own cardiac monitor. On the balcony, the children sat shoulder to shoulder, telescope pointed at the sky. They didn't notice the adults approaching, too absorbed in their shared wonder at the universe. That one. Lily pointed at a bright star near the horizon. What's that one called? Sirius. The dog star. It's the brightest star in the night sky. Why is it so bright? Because it's close. Only 8 light years away. That means the light we're seeing left that star 8 years ago. Before you were born. Before any of this, Isaiah gestured vaguely at everything around them, happened. Lily was quiet for a moment, processing. So when I look at that star, I'm looking at the past. Sort of. You're seeing light from the past. But the star is still there right now doing its thing. We just can't see what it's doing right now because the light hasn't reached us yet. That's like memories, Lily said softly. Like how Mom shows me pictures of Aunt Emma. She's in the past, but I can still see her. She's still real somehow. Isaiah nodded. My dad says the same thing about my mom, that she's still part of our story, even though her chapter ended. Marcus felt Victoria squeeze his hand. They stood in the doorway, not interrupting, not announcing their presence, just witnessing. Do you think they can see us? Lily asked. Your mom and my aunt from wherever they are. I don't know. My dad says maybe. He says the universe is bigger than we understand, and maybe the people we love find ways to keep watching. I hope so. I want Aunt Emma to see how fast I can run now, and I want her to see you. Lily turned to face Isaiah. She would have liked you. Mom says you're just like your dad, and your dad is the best man she ever met, except for grandfather. But grandfather is complicated. Isaiah laughed. Your grandfather is definitely complicated. But he's getting better. Dad says... Lily stopped, caught herself. I mean, your dad says people can change if they want to badly enough. I think grandfather wanted to change after my surgery. He did change. My dad noticed. Do you think... Lily hesitated. Do you think it's okay that I call him Dad, Mr. Thompson, I mean? Does it make you feel weird? No. Isaiah's voice was certain. It makes me feel like I have a sister, which is something I always wanted but never thought I'd get. Lily's smile could have lit up the entire Chicago skyline. I always wanted a brother. They sat in comfortable silence, two children who'd found each other across impossible odds, staring at stars that had been burning since long before their parents met. Marcus stepped onto the balcony, Victoria beside him. Getting cold out here, guys. Ready to come inside? Isaiah turned. His expression shifted when he saw his father's face reading something there that made him sit up straighter. Everything okay, Dad? Everything's great. Actually, everything's better than great. Marcus sat on the balcony bench beside his son. Victoria took the spot next to Lily. We have something to tell you both. You're getting married, Lily blurted. I knew it. Grandfather said it was going to happen. He said he could see it from the beginning. Slow down, baby. Victoria laughed. We're not, well, we haven't talked about, yet. Marcus finished. We haven't talked about that yet, but we are talking about looking at a house together, a house where we could all live as a family. Isaiah's eyes went wide. All of us together. If that's something you'd want. Are you kidding? Isaiah's composure cracked into pure 10-year-old excitement. That would be, that's... He turned to Lily. We could be in the same house. You could show me your medical stuff, and I could set up the telescope in the backyard, and we could have breakfast together every day, and... Breathe, Marcus said, smiling. Nothing's decided yet. We need to look at the house first. Make sure it works for everyone. It'll work. Isaiah's certainty was absolute. It has to work. This is what's supposed to happen. How do you know? Victoria asked gently. Isaiah looked at his father, at Victoria, at Lily, at the stars still burning overhead. Because my mom used to say that the universe takes care of people who take care of each other. She said, if you put good things out, good things come back eventually. Maybe not how you expect. Maybe not when you expect. But eventually. He swallowed hard. Dad put good things out for 3 years, working hard, taking care of me, never giving up. And now good things are coming back. That's how it's supposed to work. Marcus pulled his son into a hug, held him tight, felt Victoria's arm wrap around both of them, Lily pressing close from the other side. 4 people. 2 broken families. 1 future they were building together. Your mom would be proud of you, buddy, Marcus whispered into his son's hair. So proud. I know, Isaiah whispered back. She's watching. I can feel it. They stayed on the balcony until the cold drove them inside. Hot chocolate in the kitchen, plans for the house viewing, Lily's detailed requests for room assignments that hadn't even been seen yet. Isaiah's practical concerns about school districts and commute times. Normal family chaos, the kind Marcus had given up hoping for. At midnight, with the children finally asleep in their respective guest rooms, Marcus and Victoria stood on the front porch of the lake house, looking out at the frozen lake and the sky full of stars. 1 year, Victoria said quietly. 1 year since that storm. Feels like longer. Feels like everything. She leaned against him. You know what I keep thinking about that moment on the highway when I told you I didn't need your help? I was so certain, so determined to handle everything alone. And now I can't imagine handling anything without you. She turned to face him. You changed everything, Marcus. Not just my circumstances. Me. The way I see the world. The way I see myself. You did the same for me. We did it for each other. Victoria smiled. That's what love is, isn't it? Not one person saving another. 2 people saving each other. Marcus thought about Denise. About the love they'd shared, the family they'd built, the future they'd planned before cancer stole it all away. He'd spent 3 years believing that kind of love was a one-time gift. That he'd used up his share. He'd been wrong. Love wasn't a limited resource. It was renewable, expandable, capable of growing in directions you never expected, filling spaces you didn't know were empty. I'm going to ask you to marry me, Marcus said. Not tonight, not tomorrow, but soon. When the house is settled and the kids are adjusted and everything feels right. Victoria's breath caught. Is that a warning or a promise? Both. He cupped her face in his hands. I want you to know it's coming. I want you to have time to be sure. To think about what it means marrying a man who comes with debt and baggage, and a son who will always need me. Your debt is almost gone. Your baggage is what makes you who you are. And Isaiah. Victoria's voice broke slightly. Isaiah is the son I would have chosen if I'd been given the choice. Loving you means loving him. That's not a sacrifice. That's a gift. Then when the time comes... Yes. She didn't let him finish. When the time comes, the answer is yes. I don't need to think about it. I've been thinking about it for months. The answer was yes before you asked. Marcus kissed her. Deep and slow, and full of everything they'd built together. Full of grief, transformed into hope. Loneliness transformed into family survival, transformed into living. I love you, he said when they finally broke apart. In case I haven't said it enough. You haven't. Say it again. I love you. Again. I love you. I love your daughter. I love what we're building. I love who I am when I'm with you. He pulled her close. I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure you know that. Promise. Promise. They stood on the porch until the cold became unbearable, then went inside to the warmth of a house that was starting to feel like home. In the morning there would be breakfast chaos and house viewings and the 1,000 small negotiations of families learning to merge. There would be Charles Ashford's complicated blessing and the children's uncomplicated joy. There would be papers to sign and plans to make and a future to build from the fragments of their pasts. But tonight there was this. 2 people who'd found each other in a storm. 2 children who'd become siblings. 4 hearts beating in the same rhythm, synchronized by something stronger than circumstance. Marcus thought about the crack in his window. The one Victoria had made when she slammed her palm against the glass, desperate to save her daughter. He'd never fixed it. Probably never would. Some broken things became reminders. Some damage became doorways. Some storms destroyed everything in their path. And some storms delivered exactly what you needed, exactly when you needed it, even when you didn't know you needed anything at all. The universe takes care of people who take care of each other. Denise had believed that. Marcus was finally beginning to understand it. And somewhere out there, 8 light years away, the dog star burned on ancient light, reaching across impossible distance, connecting past and future, proving that some things endure no matter how far they have to travel. Family was like that. Love was like that. The story Marcus Thompson and Victoria Ashford were writing together would be like that too. Bright enough to shine across any darkness, strong enough to survive any storm, real enough to last.